Hello, welcome back to the fourth episode of the bonus feature podcast with Rhys and Ted. Today's a little bit of a different one because Rhys is currently, or he is going to be in Korea when this should be filmed, so we're having to do this all pre-recorded. So there's going to be no film gossip today, no catching up on what we've watched in the past week since, we're filming this episode back to back with the previous one we just released. So I think we'll just go straight into today's topic, which is going to be space films. Not like fantasy space films, mainly just ones that are like real space here. So whether that be a film about real space events, or it could be like a space film set 50 years in the future where astronauts are going to space to deal with a problem. A bit like Interstellar sort of thing.
Yeah, essentially no lightsabers, no science fiction, like excessive out there ideas. These are going to be at least semi-realistic situations and technologies that are achievable to man in the next few years, I imagine.
So yeah, I think we don't beat about the bush, and I say we get straight into it. So I know I've done a little bit of prep to go into this week's film discussion. Have you?
I've not watched too many, in fairness. I've got a handful I'm ready and happy to talk about. So
I just all watched a little bit long ago. Is that?
There's a couple I've watched in the last couple of months.
Well, I think maybe we start with, I actually watched one last night. So I think that's probably a good place to start. So the one I watched last night, I watched Danny Boyle's Sunshine, which was actually really, really good. So I'd highly recommend that to anyone who hasn't seen it. For those who don't know, it's like a space thriller horror with a very big cast. It's pretty cool. It follows this crew that they're trying to like restart the sun by putting a big bomb in it, basically, to give the Earth warmth again, because they don't have it. It's like Snowpiercer, but set in space.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'll try and engage positively after your snide attack on my lack of preparation. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, it sounds like a pretty cool concept, if anything, especially if they've made it look sort of like a realistic mission rather than a sci-fi thriller kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's just pretty cool because it's very unnerving straight from the start, and you think the horror is going to come from like the people on the crew, but it's sort of like it subverts the idea. I don't want to go into it too much, but yeah, it took me by surprise, and I was genuinely like quite unnerved by it. Like, you think some like people in this crew are not very nice people, but then you can also like understand a lot of what they do is to do it for the mission rather than for the people on the mission. Because this whole thing is basically they want to do this to restart the sun to save everyone on Earth.
Yeah.
So then you think of the grand scheme of things where it's like they have to have, it's like if they do this, these people might die. But if one person dies here and that saves everyone on Earth, then at the end of the day, that's probably the right thing, the morally right choice to make, even though it doesn't feel great. So it's cool. It just has a lot of dilemmas in there. And visually as well, it's just pretty cool. I like the whole idea it plays because like the sun is obviously a huge part of the film, but it almost puts it into like this religious sort of, there's like a fascination between a lot of the characters and the sun here, and they like stare into the sun. It's just it's a cool concept. It's like it goes over obsession, and you see these great powerful things that you can't explain and you don't know about, and they're all like so uncertain that the only way you can explain them is by making them into this like mythical figure, like a god or Christ, stuff like that. So yeah, it's cool. It almost feels a bit like, sort of like an ancient Greek or like a Roman myth where you have these gods who, you know, the people that can't explain it, so they come up with these people to help explain why these things happen. And I guess to them, making it so that this sun is this religious symbol, then that helps them cope with the fact that it's a failing star and it's like not functioning as it should anymore. So it's pretty cool. I would highly recommend it for the people that haven't seen it. Honestly, Danny Boyle, very, very good British filmmaker, has made a lot of big films, including the 28 Days Later, which
I was going to say, yeah.
Came out, the 28 Years Later sequel came out recently. So
he always comes up. He's always in the background somewhere, or he's always doing something. Was it him that did the London Olympics?
Yeah, he directed that. He also did Trainspotting, which is another big staple British film.
He's always doing so many things in the background that you just go, that was him as well.
Yeah,
there's always something else.
He's probably like the second filmmaker I think to when I think of British filmmaker. I probably go Ken Loach as like the British filmmaker, and then Danny Boyle. I think Danny Boyle has made a few too many non-British related films to be like the go-to. But yeah, I would definitely check out Sunshine.
Fair enough. Well, my most recent film that we classified as a space realism kind of thing was Passengers. Have you seen Passengers?
I have seen Passengers. I have indeed.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, it's good. It's a very Hollywood premise, I think. It's one of those films where it's entertaining. I think you can't really read too much into it. It's sort of like a Adam and Eve retelling, which is quite a common thing to do actually in space or like space related films. I know The Creator that came out recently, that kind of has a Adam and Eve parable to it. There's a really bad Nick Cage film which is sort of to do with space called Knowing. That is also an Adam and Eve parable. I think it's something that's been done a lot, and so when you see it again, it's like you sort of know what to expect. But
yeah, I didn't know what to expect walking into this. I knew Chris Pratt was in it. That was about all I could have told you from it. But it's actually got quite a small core cast. Chris Pratt plays essentially a colonizer that's meant to be traveling to the New World to start a new life.
I don't think he's a colonizer. I think he's more just like on the trip to go to the New World. Like the New World's there.
Sorry,
it's being colonized. He's just like on the trip to... Making a trip from Earth to the new place. He's
going as a builder, as a craftsman. He's.
I interpret it more as like almost this ship is like a cruise ship, and all these people are going on this thing to this new place. It's just they're supposed to be asleep.
Well, yeah, they're all meant to be. They're all going for various reasons. Most of them are trying to escape their lives from Earth. I believe. But
I think the way the film sets it up is that it's like this place is established. Like it's just like another Earth, essentially.
Yeah.
They're just going to join the society there that's already been established, sort of thing.
But yeah, they're growing that, or helping to grow that newer place, because it's not, as far as I can see, because he's going there to build his own home. So that was his idea. Was
maybe it's been too long since I've seen it. Yeah. The way I interpret it is just like that's been set up.
I don't think they're the first colonizers, but
I think they're going there to make a new life for themselves. Not that they're making the new life on this planet. They're just going to join this other planet, which is supposed to be better for them.
Well, yeah. So essentially, Chris Pratt is he's a tradesman. Then that's his craft. He wants to essentially build his life, or his new life on this planet. His hibernation pod malfunctions when they're still 90 years away. So without being able to go back into hibernation, he's not going to be able to make it to the new planet. So he's sort of destined to live out his life by himself on this ship. he's joined by an android played by Michael Sheen, played brilliantly by Michael Sheen, I might add. But that is essentially all he's got. And then he starts fantasizing over Jennifer Lawrence's character, who's a reporter / writer, whose aim is to go and basically be a journalist and write about this new world and then come back with her own unique story to tell those people on Earth. This evidently doesn't happen because Chris Pratt's fascination with her leads him to taking her out of hibernation as well. And so the story from there is this kind of build-up of a relationship over false pretenses, and the events of the latter half of the story essentially is a combination of feeling, emotion, and a little bit of karma, I feel. But it's also got Lawrence Fishburne in as well, who, again, another fantastic actor. So it's got a great core story. I won't tell you how it ends, but I think it's got a pretty good ending as well.
Then again, I also think it just suffers from being like a male fantasy film where it's like, I think that the biggest villain and the scariest person in the film is Chris Pratt. Because
agree.
I can't imagine like getting woken up by a man and then like expecting to, like, I think the scary thing is that he's basically chosen her. He's objectified her because he's just heard all about her and not really known her as the person. He's just been like, yes, I want you because you look pretty, so I'm going to be in this place with a really pretty girl, and she's like forced to be with me because she can't also go back to sleep now. So I think almost you could treat it as like a horror film about the depravity of man there, rather than saving.
I think his actions are abhorrent, but I do understand the desperation and loneliness of not wanting to be the only person there, and the misery loves company sort of thought line. And I think Lawrence Fishburne's character kind of sort of sums it up, where it's like, yeah, I know what he's done, and I know it's terrible, but this is kind of the situation you've got to deal with, and misery sort of do you blame the drowning person for basically grabbing someone to try and help them, even if that results in him dragging them down with him?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you can try to justify the action, but I do think it is a very much like male fantasy film.
I don't think
just like, because it's like, to me, it's almost like a trapped on an island film where it's like you're trapped on an island with a very pretty lady, and then they inevitably get together. It's the same sort of idea, except the island is just replaced by a ship.
In fairness to his character, as I say, I don't want to gloss over his actions not being particularly wholesome. His character does try everything else other than just living out. Like, I mean, he tries to contact the crew. He tries to contact Earth. No, he can't get to the crew. Contacting Earth would take 60 years or something stupid like that, which doesn't help him at all. And he then tries living by himself for a year. But this just essentially drives his character insane, which is what leads him to have this unhealthy obsession with the idea of Jennifer Lawrence's character. So I at least understand it. If, like, I prefer a villain I can at least understand, even if their actions are still abhorrent.
You see, I just think if I was Jennifer Lawrence's character, even if I can like understand that, I would still go nowhere near Chris Pratt's character in the film. I would not feel bad for him whatsoever.
She does do that initially. There are events towards the end of the movie.
But then I also think that's just a man writing her to forgive the man. I think to me it seems like guy does something wrong, knows it's wrong, and then feels really bad and feels sorry for himself when he's done this wrong action to try and be redeemed because he wants her to be like, oh, no, I forgive you, it's fine. It just seems like, yeah, guy does something wrong and then wants to be forgiven for it.
Yeah, well, this is it. As bad as his actions are, like she doesn't really have that choice in that it's like the situation she's in is not much better whether she's by herself or at least talking to him in some regard. But I think this is a judge for yourself kind of situation of whether or not you think the movie's good or if you think it's just a male fantasy kind of
for
thing.
a man to watch it and a woman to watch it. And I guess as two guys, it's probably easier for us to identify with Chris Pratt's character, but I think it's important to try and acknowledge different viewpoints to the film.
Yeah, agreed.
Different readings, because I'm pretty sure it's directed by a man. So definitely explain
Morton Tildum.
Yeah, can't say no about him, but sounds like a guy.
Have you got another movie you'd like to follow that up with?
Bit left field here. One of my favorite directors of all time is this Soviet film director called Andrei Tarkovsky, who is widely regarded as like one of the best filmmakers of all time. He's one of his famous films is Stalker, which I'm guessing you probably haven't heard of. But
I haven't heard of, but it's starting
a pretty
to sound
cool,
like a
sci-fi film all about like desire and wants and stuff. But another one of his famous films, which I own as a Criterion, which is pretty cool, is Solaris, which actually got remade by Steven Soderbergh with George Clooney in, which is probably a good way to get into watching the Tarkovsky version. But it's pretty cool. It's basically you follow this psychiatrist who has to travel to this space station that's orbiting around the planet Solaris, and they're getting reports that like the people on this station have gone crazy. And the premise of the story comes from the planet. It's like this like psychic entity that makes stuff you think in your mind come to life again. So essentially what the story is, this psychiatrist goes there and his dead wife that he lost like a couple of years ago comes back on this space station, and obviously she doesn't know why she's there, and she's not technically real. She's just the image of herself that's in the psychiatrist's mind. So it's just a pretty cool concept. It sort of just goes into more about, it's very existential. You sort of go into like desire and like fate and whether if you know something's happening, can you prevent it? And if you know something bad's going to happen, are you going to try and shelter someone so much that they can't do anything, can't be who they are? So.
See, back-to-back space movies where people are going insane. That seems to be a theme in space.
I guess when you think of space, you think of the big void of nothingness. It is enough to... It makes you feel how like small you are, so I can get why a lot of it focuses on existentialism. But it is cool, because in Solaris, he goes in a spaceship and gets to the station in a very cool leather jacket. And if I had to do some cool space travel, I would definitely choose this leather jacket. But Solaris is a 3-hour film, so it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Not for me.
But it's cool. I think you could sort of almost classify it as noir, which we talked about a couple episodes ago with the new Spider Noir trailer that came out.
Yes.
Because the wife, the dead wife of the main guy you meet, she has typical noir qualities with blonde hair, and she has to be punished in the end, which is a slight spoiler, but then again, I doubt most people are going to go and watch Solaris. And the psychiatrist almost plays a detective role where he's going to this space station to see what's happened. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's a slow burner film, but it really makes you think. And that's a pretty key quality with a lot of Tarkovsky films. It asks more questions than it answers. And I think that way you can engage with it a lot more and you can come up with your own interpretations.
That's best thing about life, asking questions and exploring for the answers. That's That seems to be a good theme for space
it's easy
again.
enough to just like listen to people saying what stuff is, but I think if you think about it yourself, you might even find out a bit more about who you are. Because like my favorite Tarkovsky film is called Mirror. Nothing to do with space. It's just a little bit of a tangent I'm on now.
Is it about self-reflection?
Yeah, so it's almost biographical of Tarkovsky's life, and he's basically going through a bunch of. It sort of follows like a woman and her life in a very non-chronological order, and it sort of asks like what makes a successful life. So you see her in a job, doing well in her job, and it's whether you have a good job, and that means you've been successful, or you see her interact with her family, and whether having a good family around you is a sign of successful life. If you have lots of money, or if you have lots of friends, stuff like that, lots of knowledge, it's cool because even though it's all about his life and how he like reflects on himself, you can sort of bring these core ideas that he's exploring to yourself and be like, yeah, what have I done so far? And like, has that been good? Have I made the most of my time here? Sort of thing. So, and that's sort of like a key thing throughout all of his films.
Asking existential questions, though, it could be a bit scary.
Yeah, but you know, if you always stay in the comfort zone, you're never gonna. The biggest risk is taking no risk at all.
Amen to that. I was just thinking when you mentioned the mirror that it's disappointing that the Michael Jackson movie isn't called The Man in the Mirror, because I thought that sounds like a perfect title for a biographical feature for him.
Yeah, no, it could be. But yeah, no, that and my other big space recommendation that I quite like is a Claire Denis film, which I don't know if you've heard of Claire Denis, but she's
I haven't.
She's a pretty cool director. She's actually is a executive producer on my favorite film of all time, Wings of Desire. So a bit of a shout out there.
How are we back to that?
But she's just a cool French filmmaker who actually grew up in North Africa when she was young, and then moved to France after that, which she actually made almost like is a self-biographical film about a child that's grown up in North Africa in this like French colony nation, and like how she felt growing up there. It's a good film called Chocolat, so I'd highly recommend that. But this space film she made is called High Life. It's pretty cool. A lot of like Claire Denis' things is that she's big into the cinema of transgression. So sort of like excessive blood, sort of a little bit disgusting, very graphic, but to like emphasize a point. That's a big thing in what she does. I think she has a film called like Trouble Every Day, which is about this like cannibal lady and the man who looks after her. So it's very disgusting in your face, but you sort of almost amplifies these emotions. Like, for example, someone eating someone, you can read that as like just cannibalism and disgusting, but then you can also read it as like deep passion and like consuming that person, like becoming one with that person. So, but this High Life is pretty cool. You follow a dad and his daughter who are struggling to survive in like the middle of nowhere space. And then you get a bit of a flashback to how that happened. It's pretty cool. There's some questionable scenes. There's a room. I'm just going to call it the goon room, but it's basically like it's like a key part of the film where it's like, they have a room there where this is the only private space they have to like express their sexual fantasy. So I guess it sort of goes into maybe a more accurate depiction of like long space travel where you see real human emotions and like real human desire in there, rather than like thinking everyone is just going to focus on a mission, on like a space mission, and forget about their humanity rather than their goal. I think it does quite a good job in showing people rather than just like big mission, we got to save the day and do this. You know, you see a more realistic depiction of what happened. But that room, that is why I link it in with transgressive cinema, because it is quite like a graphic way of explaining this.
It's probably a little bit too much of that in space movies, where the main aim or the only thing that you really know about them going into space is they're off to go do a mission, and the main focus is all on that. And you don't. I think most space films, you don't really get that much character development. You don't see
space. It's like this guy's a physicist, and so all he does is do physics and stuff like that. You don't see the real person. You just see the role and the title and the purpose rather than the person.
Yes.
Which I think is actually a lot of the case in Sunshine, the film I watched recently. It has a bit more of like the people, but a lot of it is very much just like role and purpose. But it's cool. It's got Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
It has Mia Goth. That's another big name. It has the man himself, Andre 3000. Don't know his real name, but he's there. I had this big French actress in. I can't remember her name exactly. Juliette Binoche. You probably don't know who Juliette Binoche is, but she's a very big French actress, and she's in there. So it's cool. I'd check it out. It's one of her only English films she's made. Maybe the first one she's made. It's very much like a Hollywood production. So it's kind of interesting to see how definitely a more art house European concept has made its way over to Hollywood. A bit like how Steven Soderbergh made the American Solaris from Tarkovsky's.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Now, if we're talking space movies that are entertaining with some great character development, we need to talk about Wallace and Gromit: A Grand Day Out. What a banging movie. This epic story of a man and his dog traveling to the moon for cheese.
It's something. I remember as a kid, I was really scared of it because the thing that sticks out in my mind is they put the coins in the skiing vending machine person there, and then it tries to take the ship they took to get there. That just gave me nightmares as a kid. I don't know what it is, but genuinely it scared me.
To be fair, the claymation of Wallace's face was terrifying to me.
Yeah.
When I was that age, I was like, Jesus Christ, that man looks scary. But
I don't know. I think it's the same sort of feeling I have. You ever heard or like read or watched The Bear Hunt?
No.
Well, the premise of The Bear Hunt, the main line is we can't go under it, we can't go over it, we got to go through it because they're hunting for this bear.
Yeah.
And when they find the bear and they run home, they forget to leave the door. They leave the door open, forget to close it, and that feeling that like something's coming to go into this like open thing and again, I don't know. It's just a similar little.
Sorry, when you said had I seen this? Is there a?
There's like an animation that
I was going to say, I've only read the book. I didn't realise that was what you were referencing when you said
it. I don't know what, as a kid, it's just the same sort of like dread where they've gone to do something and then there's a thing coming to almost like replace it. It's the same sort of sensation I get from, you ever seen Annihilation?
No.
That's a very good film with Natalie Portman in where basically there's like this huge iridescent looking like dome where they go in and infiltrate to see what it is, and at the end it's like these weird metal aliens that replicate the people and like take their identity. And I guess that is almost a similar sort of feeling to this ski machine person on that moon trying to get into this rocket and take it back. It's scary.
I think that listeners at home, if they're feeling up to it, should start a drinking game where every time you recommend a film to me I've never heard of, they take a shot. Or you ask me, have you heard of this? No. It happens about 10 times an episode.
You don't get to watch 2,000 films without getting to, flex on a couple of people. So what's the point of watching these films if I can't...
I know. I'm nearly on 1,000 movies, and that feels like I've not scratched the surface of film, in all honesty.
Yeah, true.
But going back to it, Grand Day Out, original kids movie, absolute, highly recommended.
It's good.
1989.
Is that how old Wallace and Gromit
I know. Nick Park creating this, I don't even know how many years ago. That was, what, 37 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. And for me, with space films there, my idea of space is that it's so vast and unknown and scary that I think it lends itself a lot more to a narrative that follows a very much like existential plot. So like something like 2001, which is regarded as one of the best films ever made.
Yeah,
the whole like plot of that is that there is these monoliths and they don't know who put them there, and it's like all about human evolution and asking questions about yourself and things like that. I think that works so much more well in a space narrative because the environment matches the story. It's like you feel the unknown and the nothingness of space, which then matches the unknown of the story you're following, which is why I quite like 2001. So,
fair enough.
I'm just a big Kubrick fan. Have you seen 2001?
I have, but I've not actually rated it because it was so long ago, like a child watching that. So I don't think I could accurately have a fair opinion on it. Now, but if we are going to talk epic space movies, I'm going to refer back to one you mentioned on last week's podcast, and that's WALL-E.
Yeah.
What an epic story, but also one that covers what could be a real sort of threat to humanity, which is our own laziness.
Yeah, I guess it's probably ahead of its time in some regards there. I think the main takeaway from WALL-E, though, at that time was probably a lot to do with the ecological damage to the world we're doing, because the whole thing is that we have to leave, not because we're lazy, but that our planet is inhabitable because of all the rubbish. But I guess maybe if you go back to it from like a today's viewpoint, looking back at it, yeah, you can probably interpret it as like laziness. I mean, if you look at like America and the increased obesity rates there, and then you see the very obese people within the ship, I think they call it the Endurance, which is probably a nod to the shuttle rocket that the space shuttle rockets. There's a bunch of them. The white space plane looking rockets.
Vaguely.
Like the one was called Challenger.
Oh yes, I do know Challenger. Yeah, of course.
It's probably like a nod to that.
Well,
I guess it probably does lend itself, and like the whole like that ship is a purely just consumer ship where everything's adverts.
Well, I think it's laziness twofold, because there's the laziness in terms of not creating a sustainable way to live and not cleaning up the oceans and cleaning up all the rubbish and just dumping it until we ruin an entire planet. But also the laziness in us not wanting to lift a finger in life, and humanity's sort of drive to work hard to do very little. The aim that so many people would rather just sit in bed or sit in a chair and not move for a whole day. Like,
I wouldn't mind doing that, to be fair.
But that's exactly it. That's the issue. You'd rather have your food delivered to you by someone else, your TV broadcast to you so you don't have to move. To have everything you could ever want all within arm's reach.
See, that I will say, I do not get takeaways very often. I think I'm pretty good in that regard. I think I would suffer in the world of WALL-E.
You know why I don't get many takeaways?
Why?
There's not many around. I think the choice around here is like at most like 10 takeaways, and I've had some of them not that great, and others are just
to
fine.
Be fair, Richmond have some pretty good takeaways. Jacobs, shout out Jacobs. Like a mean lash goshti or a doner kebab. Pizza Pronto, not bad as well. Castle Fisheries. But certainly, and I live very close to them, so certainly within our reach.
Well, that's it. You live in a marginally bigger place than here, but I used to live in a city. Well, I used to at least frequent a city in Leicester. Shout out Leicester, and the Midlands in general. But they had all sorts. They had Burger and Sauce and McLovin, two fantastic restaurants I'd highly recommend, and many other takeaway. Like you'd load up Uber Eats, Just Eat, or whichever brand you want to use, and there'd be like 100 different restaurants you can order from. I load it up around here. There's 7.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
And that's it. If you rule out the fact that Mackey's is never good when it's delivered, like because the food's made to last about 4 minutes, and your other sort of basics in Subway, Domino's, and KFC, that leaves you with like 2 or 3 local companies that are actually on that.
Yeah. I think we've tangented off a bit too much there, so I'll bring it back to WALL-E. I think WALL-E's cool because it also homages older space films, because the main antagonist of WALL-E is the computer on the ship, which is a direct model of HAL 9000.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, even like the way it talks and the fact they have to like unplug him to like disconnect him, which, spoiler, is what happens in 2001. I think it's cool that even like a children's film like this can pay homage to a sort of older space film.
Is it bad that you say HAL 9000 and it makes me think of epic rap battles before it makes me think of 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen epic rap.
You've never seen the epic rap battles of history? That's one of the best YouTube series going. I think it was Bill Gates versus Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs dies, and Bill Gates is like, "Ha! I've won!" And then HAL 9000 just steps up to the plate.
Fair enough.
It's like it is next level stuff. It's only 3 minutes long. I'll send you a link.
Fair enough. I'll check that out. I think that probably wraps up all the main films I really want to discuss with.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any more.
Well, I can't say there's too much more that I mean. The ones I have are all just rehashes of each other, I think.
Apollo 13, that's a good film. I like something like Armageddon, but...
Interstellar's a classic.
Yeah. Interstellar, no, that is cool. I think that's definitely like a modern day classic. I would say that's a lot of people's 2001 for like a younger audience now, but that's... You think of Deep Space, maybe it will be Interstellar, but... Yeah, I think that probably wraps up today's episode. Don't know what the topic will be next week, but... I think if we just go through and maybe give you 1 or 2 space film recommendations, get you something to watch for the following week.
Well, that's it. I mean, we didn't talk about it much, but Interstellar is the space movie to be watching. If you haven't already seen it, it's an incredible Christopher Nolan movie. Christopher Nolan's known for making incredible movies in a lot of people's opinions, but especially mine. Also, if you're just looking for something a little bit silly, then go watch the likes of A Grand Day Out. It's simple, it's short, and it's just fun, a fun way to experience space. Yeah,
I think I'll go a bit niche with mine. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I'm a big fan of a film called Silent Running. That's pretty cute film. It's just like a guy's on a big spaceship by himself with these 2 little robots, and he just does his gardening. It's quite tranquil. It's quite peaceful. I would definitely go check that out. I know John Carpenter has a film called Dark Star as well, which is definitely worth checking out. But yeah, I think the main one, the probably one that you guys would be most likely to watch, definitely go see Sunshine. I think that is just a very good film. Very cool visuals, very cool concept. I think it's done very well. And it's got a lot of your favorite actors in. So I definitely watch that.
There's a good recommendation there. Coming up this week, we will have the likes of How to Make a Killing. That's coming out on, I think we're previewing it from Wednesday, but its full release is on Friday.
I think Glenn Powell's still just riding the current popularity chain he's on right now. It just seems to be in most things coming out.
I'm quite interested. Have you seen the trailer for it, at least? Because I think it just looks fun.
It looks fun. I'm not really a huge fan of murder mystery things, and I guess it's less of a murder mystery.
I was going to say, I don't think it's much of a mystery.
But it's just like, it's got that murder mystery twinge. It almost feels like an Agatha Christie novel. So...
I don't know. I imagine he's got the police hot on his trails, but it seems like quite just a fun sort of silly action movie that I think will be quite exciting for. Well, I'm quite excited for it anyway. And we've also got Reminders of Him, which I think is a more of a film about motherhood. More than anything, I don't know too much about it. I don't know if you're much better.
I've got no clue. I guess we'll find out. I don't. Is it about mothers? from the picture we're looking at here, it looks like a romance.
That's what I thought, but I read the description here as talking about transformative feature film about motherhood, forgiveness, and the power of love.
Well, you see, I think motherhood might be that the guy might die, and then the reminder of him is the son she has with him, or the daughter she has with him.
Yes, that.
I don't know. To me, it just comes across as like your like romancy thing, a bit like The Longest Ride or something like that. It's just I just get the feeling it's going to be cheesy. It's not going to be great. It's going to be slop, I think. But I'm open to have my mind changed.
Did we not talk a few weeks ago about what a Netflix film is? Is this the kind of feeling you get from this?
Nah, because it's like I can't remember what the film's called, but there's one with Zac Efron where he's like a army veteran, and then he comes back to like help on this farm. I can't remember what that's called, but it just seems the exact same. I have a certain film thing in mind, and I know it's like that. Like I think it's called The Longest Ride, which has Scott Eastwood in. That's about like follows like who's the people that ride the cattle. In America, you like ride the bull riding. It's like a bull rider and like this artist, and they get together in the deep south of America. That Zac Efron one I mentioned. Or there's one where it's like this country singer who like leaves the person he was supposed to be with to go be this country singer, and then he comes back and wants to be with her again. It's that exact film. I've got a feeling it's going to be a bit like that. So.
Well, we don't know that yet, and we don't know whether or not the movie is going to be like that, or if it's going to be good.
But just from the poster, that is the vibe. That's the vibe I'm getting.
If one of us gets to watch it, or if one of our colleagues does, then next time we see you guys, we'll let you know what they think. But at least I'm quite excited for How to Make a Killing. It looks quite exciting, and Glenn Powell is currently one of the favoured actors at the moment. So we recommend you come check that out. And if you haven't already, the likes of Hoppers looks like it's performed quite well, and I mean The Testament of Anne Lee. We were talking about musicals last week.
See that. Yeah,
that looks like our latest exciting musical. So that just about wraps us up, I think, for this week's episode. We'll join you next week, the same time, same place. I've been Rhys.
I've been Ted,
and this has been the Bonus Features Podcast. Take care.